I lost my train of thought. That's crazy. From rock history music, Gary Brooker has died. Sad news. He was 76 years old. Um, of course, keys, vocals, lyrics of one of the greatest bands to a lot of people of all time. And everyone remembers 1967, The Summer of Love, A Wider Shade of Pale. This is the guy who played with, had a few solo albums, Conquistador with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. I remember Salty Dog. That's one I remember really, really well. But yeah, he passed away. He was battling cancer, and another one we lose. He passed away on the 19th, but it's just been announced now, and it's now trickling out now. Um, One of the Procol Harum sites. It's not their official site. Interesting. Brooker didn't own ProcolHarum.com. There's a fan site at ProcolHarum.com that says, and I'll get to the comments in a second. Thank you. With the deepest regret, we must announce the death, February 19th, 2022, of Gary Brooker, singer, pianist, and composer of Procol Harum, and a brightly shining, irreplaceable light in the music industry. Age 76, he had been receiving treatment for cancer, but died peacefully at home. Look at some of the discography of this band. I was saying, if my memory serves me, it was 72 with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. Um, One of the greatest live situations of all time. But like I said, I remember someone playing me Salty Dog. I think it was released in the late 60s, 69, I'm seeing here. And just thinking, who are these guys, at a very, very young age? Their debut album came out in 67. It was self-titled. By 68, Shine On Brightly. The year after that, A Salty Dog. And then 1970, Home. Their highest charting album in the US was at number 21, Grand Hotel. But let's just go through some of the songs. Hold on. I've never seen a band with so many compilation albums in my life. There's just so many. The best of, 3 classic albums, greatest hits, a wider shade of pale, and more. There's just been so many. I'm not sure why that is, but it happens. Wider Shade of Pale, 1967, that, as we mentioned before, in the US reached number 5, number 1 in Canada, number 1 in the UK, number 1 in Australia. And it just blew up. Conquistador, 72, like I said, with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. That was just a grand piece. When they really get into it, and that song is like a train that's out of control, with the orchestra. That reached number 4 in Australia, number 16 in the US, number 7 in Canada. Interestingly, it did not chart in the UK. Then they had another live version from another place with that same song, Paradox, Pandora's Box in 1975. And like I said, he released a few solo albums, but the bulk of his, and there've been reworkings, right? Stereotomy, I think that's the name of the album by Alan Parsons. He was on there. He played with Eric Clapton. And one of those guys that we did not get as an interview, one of those guys that people would always come on our website, our live feeds and say, you got to get Gary Brooker. And I'd say, yeah, we'll get him. He's on the list. But, it just kind of happens that sometimes you can't get everybody, right? And we lose, and we're losing a lot of people because just the very fact of where we're at. I'm going to go into the feed now and answer some of your questions. Oops, I'm hearing the ad, and so are you. So I've got my handy Stephen Chase, I miss him. Believin' Rebel says, another reminder of our own mortality. Well said, thank you. Paul Alves, rest in peace, legend. Thank you for the great music. Well said again. Adam Toll, too young, too young. Yeah. Douglas W., very sad to hear another talent lost. Macaroni, there's a username for you. Simple Sister, what a great song. Cummings 4834, very sad to hear passing. Manny Lopez, rest in peace. Dwayne, hey, nice to hear from you, Dwayne. Sorry to hear. I saw Procol Harum live with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. Wow, 4 times. And I met Gary Brooker. Wow. Melody R says, rest in peace. Paul Alves, hey, Paul. Procol Harum will always be one of my favorite bands. And Procol Harum sort of came at it from a different angle. I think that's one of the reasons when I first heard them when I was quite young, and I wasn't their biggest fan, but there was always a lot of respect there of going, my more sophisticated friends into music while I was listening to pop music, like really sugary pop music in the early 70s, were listening to things like that. And Pink Floyd before I even got into them, right? But it was that 1972 recording that made a lot of people stop in their tracks, like especially like I mentioned a while ago, Conquistador. I mean, that was just like, wow, crazy, loud and rapturous. It had that rapturous classical, well, hence the orchestra feel to it. Alex says, was just listening to Whiter Shade of Pale, 1967, right in the summer of love, right? After many years, strange thing. That's a cool thing when that happens. My carbo fires while burnt brightly. Paul Alves. I love Grand Hotel. Wonderful album, yeah. Neil says, saw Procol Harum 5 times in Copenhagen with orchestras. Fantastic shows. A band that can play. I mean, if the orchestra and the band can find that sweet spot, almost any band, with the exception maybe of some, can do orchestras, but some are just bombastic and just big and wonderful, and you get chills. And Swisted, is that a Swisted Chef? There you go. There's a username for you. Great guy. And he said also, sad, sad, sad. William Eckert, shine on brightly as a classic. I hope there is life after death where we can all see others again. Rest in peace. Ronnie Parker. Well said, my friend. Yeah, I've been, a question, as a lot of you know, I've been asking a lot of musicians. We just released a piece last night with David Johnstone from Elton John's band, who joined in for Madman Across the Water back in '71. Is what do you think is on the other side? I mean, listen, I always preface the question by saying I'm 62. I'm thinking about that now too. I'm starting to think about where we're going. It crosses my mind. And Davey's probably and it was really refreshing to hear. Davey's the first guy who said, I don't really think about that because I'm too busy living. But he appreciated the question. But I ask everyone. The religious people will give you the religious answer. Spiritual people will give you a very similar answer to that, but from not a religious standpoint, from more of a spiritual, we're all going to the same place. But it's a question that almost every artist I've talked to has been contemplating a little bit, of course. So yeah, your point is taken. Your point is taken very well as far as what's on the other side. Ronnie Parker, thank you. Karen O, Whiter Shade of Pale, masterpiece, rest in peace. Thank you, Karen. Douglas W. Ran an excellent interview with him regarding his keyboard background in 1978 from Contemporary Keyboard Magazine. Thanks, Douglas, for that. Pookie, nice to see you here. Hager Sean, Aronson Shreve, Whiter Shade of Pale. Okay. Dwayne, I've always been a fan of Procol Harum. I have their live album with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra, autographed by the band. Wow, that's a valuable piece. I have 2 albums and a CD program, a set list signed by them. Wow, that's a piece of memorabilia. It's a sad thing when you look at it, right? The other day I was looking at, the Canada-Russia series, the Summit series from '72. That's autographed by Paul Henderson, who scored the winning goal. But I have a poster of the entire Canadian team signed also by Tretiak, the Russian goalie, underneath. And I had a friend coming over and he was buying some of my old stereo equipment. And it's interesting. He looked at that and he says, about 8 of those people are dead. And that's the first thing he thought of. And people think about that with memorabilia. You don't want to be morbid about it, but memorabilia just goes up. Unless you're Bobby Hall's still with us, but unless you're a person like the Richard brothers who signed so much stuff that, so people think about that. I don't mean to go off topic, but Walt says, oh, hold on. I missed some here. I am a YouTube chef, Swish chef. Oh, okay. I'll check out your stuff. I know I'm going off again. Swisted, WSWISSTED chef. Look that up. I'll look you up. Thank you. And thank you for joining us today. Pookie Martinez, Heaven Bound My Friend, Shalom. William Eckert, Whiskey Train, another great song. What's the first one they really let Robin Trout cut loose? Yeah, that's the first song. Yeah. Walt Moss, Moody's Days of Future Past and Procol Harum live in the concert. Two classics on either side of the coin. Thank you, Walt. Bill Griffin writes, my wife passed 12 years ago. I'm sorry. I'm convinced that she visits me a lot at first. Less time has passed. I've gone from not believing that. I've gone from truly believing all that stuff, being scared of death, to becoming quite a spiritual cat in the 80s, to now, I don't know. I was not able to walk through a dark house when I was a kid. It would never have happened. I would have gone into panic attacks. Luckily, I didn't have those. But now I can do it without problem. And it depends upon, I'm watching the things like, and again, I don't want to go off topic too much. The haunting on Hill House and Bly Manor and Hill House scared me a little bit, but I was still able to walk through a house, our house, without thinking stuff. So everyone thinks about the other side sometimes and thinks about the darkness, and death is scary. And that's, I think, why ghost stories started. But one of the reasons. I believe there's something out there. My mother, on the anniversary of my father's death, the day before I was born, my mother went into labor on their anniversary, the 31st of January. She always hears something really strange happens in the house. I don't want to make this about that. So I'm going to read your comments, which is why we're coming on live. Nathan says, Heidi, I don't know how to say that. Conquistador. Anyway, thanks, Bill Griffin, for sharing that. I appreciate that. I'm glad I have my iPad so I can go back. Nathan Mock, What a Shade of Pale was released on my 16th birthday. Wow. You were 16 in 67. Man, 1967. We're going to start doing things on years of music. And we might start in 1967. And this is a good catalyst to kick our butt to do something like that. James Bashir's good morning, John and everyone. Hey, James, thanks for joining us. Swisted Chef, fantastic podcast. All you do is fantastic. To hear first news today, Gary is dead, was a shock. Keep going, man. I watch your program. Rest in peace. Gary, your songs are eternal. Well said. I will check out your channel, by the way. Greg Biggs. Hey, wow, so sad. 76 is young. You're right about that. Bill Griffin. So I do believe there is something other. Yeah, I believe that too. And it's weird because I'm more on the side of science for a lot of things as I get older. And then it switches as you get even older. There's a part of you that by necessity maybe, or wishful thinking. And then, Rick Emmett of Triumph told me, I said, okay, Rick, what's on the other side? He says, nothing. There's nothingness. And again, that was a perspective that was refreshing to hear, because it's not like music that everyone's right. No matter what you listen to, you're right, because you can't help what you like. I understand that. But, I mean, is there multi-universes on the other side? If you believe this, you go there? So who's right? Is there a right of what? It's a complicated thing. And it has a lot to do with where you lean religiously. And I'm a big fan of religion and people finding a connection to what's on the other side. Not all sides of it, but anyway. Does it look like I just woke up? Because I just woke up. So thanks, Bill. Appreciate you. I'm starting another channel under my own name, John Beaudin. If you look up John Beaudin, you'll see my channel. There's a skunk video on there, a skunk coming towards our house, and a big storm video. But I'm going to start interviewing guests that are not music oriented. Interesting people, maybe life after death, but just anybody who's interesting outside of music and acting, just authors and things like that. So, and I love theology. I love talking about it. Old Texas Wolf, nice to have you back. A sad day, rest in peace. Saw them open for Jethro Tull. Incredible performance. Thank you. Paul Alves. Brooker had a distinctive voice. Thank you. Good point. He really did. You can pick him out of a crowd, which is what I always say. It's like Gordon Lightfoot. It's like Burton Cummings. There's certain artists. Bob Dylan, obviously. Van Morrison. There are Chris Thompson of the Man for Man's Earth band. You know, you can tell them Twisted Chef, living in, oh, you're living in Florida. Okay, cool. That's where I'm from. I'm northeast, southeast rather, New Brunswick, and everyone here on vacation goes to Florida. It's very common, or they fly across the country sometimes if they have relatives in British Columbia, or California, or Arizona. Okay, I'm trying to find James Conquistador. Remember cranking that song up? You know what? You couldn't listen to that song without cranking it, and it came on. Saw them in concert around that time. Oh, cool. Pookie Martinez. I don't fear death. It's not a monster. It's a motivator. Pookie, always, as always, my friend. Thank you. Inspiring. My hair's crazy. It's really true. You got, you know, not going off topic here. We're talking about death. Excuse me. There is that thing. Are you going to make friends with it? Right? And I'm starting to get into meditation again. I'm realizing that the happiest I was ever in my life. I mean, I'm happier professionally right now doing this, but the happiest I've ever been in my life was in the 80s when I meditated 2-3 times a day. I was grounded. I was single for a lot of that, going through a breakup. So you think about that stuff, and you're getting answers, getting questions answers. Pookie says, hope Danica is doing well. She's having a good day today. She's autistic, by the way, folks. Should have some recall so you know what we're talking about. My daughter's 23 years old. She's autistic. And some days she has some bad days. Dwayne writes, in 1967, my eldest cousin was 20. Okay. Dwayne, I believe in God. I think heaven is real. I believe there's just too many stories. But, right? So, you know, we start talking about death. Every time we do a live broadcast and we talk about death, these questions come up because you can't help thinking about, you know, your own mortality. When one of your heroes dies, people who literally are higher than us because they're on stage, seem more important than us or important to us because they're on the radio, move us inside, jiggle us, and then they die. And you go, what? And there's a sort of humans have problems with death anyway. It's hard to process. You tell a child your father or mother or uncle has passed away. It's almost like something just, you can't process it. You go, what do you mean? They're not, where'd they go? Like, where are they? Right? And that's how the conversation started on this channel. I just started asking musicians where their bandmates went. Where do you think they are then? Because for whatever reason, that was almost a good in. Because when you ask an artist that in a music-oriented interview, it's very easy for the artist to say, I don't want to, what are you talking about? Where are you going with this? No one's ever said that. And it could happen. It probably will. But there you go. Gary Brooker. The Beatles and the Beat Boom had been going for 4 or 5 years. And it was either a case of keep doing the same thing or trying something different. As for Prog was born. And so Prog was born. I'm sorry. Showstopper Rob, how you doing, man? My gosh, John. As we've said before, we're losing so many artists lately. I had to look and really make sure this was true today because I was shocked because when we do live broadcasts, a lot of you are coming on and say, hey, get Gary Brooker. He'd be a great one. He'd tell some good stories. He's an interesting cat. Loves to chat. You know, loves to... Artists, you'll know right away if an artist is doing an interview because they have to. But a lot of the older artists we talk to have a sort of an appreciation for them looking back because I'm talking to them because they're successful artists. That's the criteria of this channel. You have to be a classic rocker or a classic popper, sometimes I call them. If you're in pop music, you've achieved something that my audience, all of you appreciate, right? So, boy, I'm going on. But it is a sad loss. It's, you know, I had to look at it over and over again. What? He's dead? Anyway, Jen Lu, thank you for that. That makes, I like what you wrote there. Mark 187, I saw Gary Brooker perform with the Paul Winter Consort. Oh, I love Paul Winter. Uh, do you have the Canyon album from Paul Winter? Oh my God, just crazy. Nair, fearing death is your death. Yes, well said. You're, you're wise beyond your years, no matter how old you are. I cannot pronounce that username. Apollo. Apollo Memory 73. If you had a, if memory started with a capital there, it would be easier to read. Very sad to learn this. Yes. Jen Lu, Gary Brooker, quote, Otis Redding, Sam and Dave, Booker T, and the MGs came over from America and suddenly realized it's game over. You can't pretend to them anymore when they are actually here. Okay, unquote. Showstopper Rob. John, I've always said when we die, we move to another planet. Yeah. Think Earth is hell. Well, you go, you do this thing where you realize that thinking about death and nothingness is almost impossible. I can't think of, it's hard to think about nothingness. What is it? It's nothing. Yeah, but what is that? It's nothing. Pisces Empress. My son is 16 and autistic. It's a travel. It's a road. Sorry, I just woke up, so I'm a little fuzzy this morning. It is a strange when you have an autistic, and everyone now knows Paul Winter was awesome. Yeah. So thank you, Melody R, for sharing that. If you ever want to reach out and share stories, please do. You can. I think you can email us through, yeah. Douglas W, turning 60 now. Happy birthday. You realize there's fewer days ahead compared to years beyond me. Yeah. Behind me. Sorry. I can't, like I said, I'm a little fuzzy. And here I am on live YouTube channel. Swisted Chef. And David Bowie died at 69. Rocked me to the bottom. That was the most surprising thing on earth. It's like Neil Peart going, what? What was wrong with him? And they kept it under wraps, Neil Peart of Rush, because they just respected him, his privacy so much. It was important. I was so shocked. And then Glenn Fry died. And I thought, what? Duck Soup, retracted message. Dwayne, my dad is 92 this year. My grandparents lived past 90. I now think being under 80 isn't old. No kidding. By the way, anyone joining us, Gary Brooker died of cancer. Major contributor, of course, to Procol Harum. Played with Alan Parsons and Eric Clapton, and was, in 1967, Whiter Shade of Pale was like one of the hits, The Summer of Love. And another highlight, there's been a lot. Like I said, Salty Dog was the first song I ever heard. And then A Conquistador with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra. That train a coming through. I'm just saying that because that song to me sounded like a train, an unstoppable train, as I've mentioned a while ago. Greg Sale says, so sorry to hear this. Just getting older every day, I suppose. And Terrence Appleby wrote, Procol Harum, my number one band and greatly underappreciated. Very true. Gary Brooker, rest in peace. Christopher 628, oh no. Paul Alves. Procol Harum was already being prog in the Summer of Love, paving the way for other bands like Yes, Gentle Giant, and Faust. William Eckert. Hey, William. Procol Harum was decidedly a prog rock band. Well, they really paved the way. I mean, a lot of people claim to have, we were the first. I don't really argue with those people. The fans know. Every fan might have their first prog album was this, depending upon who was around you, what you were listening to on the radio. Did you have an older brother or sister that introduced you to music? Did you have a good friend? For me, it was a friend. So, okay, Trucker Kev, the paid tourist, retracted his message, okay? Jen Lu, William Eckert, I'd go so far as to say they were the founders of prog. The impact of Whiter Shade of Pale coming out at the same month as Sgt. Pepper. Yeah. Uh, trying to see this. Apollo Memory 73. Folks should check out last year's release, the EP, The Missing Person, Alive Forever. Brian Dexter. I'm going to wrap it up here in a second. We lost another great musician. Way too young, John. Melody R. I can't see your emoji, but thank you. Brian Drexler. I love Salty Dog. Yeah, I just love that. The Music Critic. One, I know the first Procol Harum, and that is to, what else do I listen to? Oh, I don't know. Showstopper Rob. The time we are on Earth is a universe as a human, I think, been a slip second. So why should, oh God, I can't, why should it be over after we died? Okay. Sometimes a person's English, if it's quite a bit different than mine, my cadence, my reading, I can't read it. It's almost like it's another language. And I don't mean disrespect to what you just wrote rather, but Dr. James Olak, birth, life, death. It's just a cycle, no big deal. Well, to you, but to a lot of people, it's this shakes people up. You know, the thing when we came on with a live feed after Eddie Van Halen passed away, and that live feed, I think we had 50,000 folks watch that live feed or more. I'm not sure. I haven't checked it out in a while. And our announcement of Eddie Van Halen passing away, I think, got 500,000 views within a month. And it showed how everyone was just reaching out because they were in shock. When you hear someone die, most people won't go in a room by themselves, even though that sounds like a good thing to do. You go, you contemplate, you really need a moment of silence. You just grapple with it because it's so hard. But a lot of people will get on the phone in the old days, right? And talk to someone or go next door or just phone people. You need to reach out. And I kept going, wow, Eddie was big. And I know that, saved rock music for a lot of people. But it really showed me how people needed to reach out when someone passes away. They want to talk about it. We're creatures of habit, communication, and love, and that's what we do. Okay. William Eckert. He played on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. Mm-hmm. Jim Woods. I always wanted just one more verse on Whiter Shade of Pale. The song ended too soon. Yeah. Melody R. Robin Trower tore my friend's eardrum at a concert. Really? Wow. Brian Drexler. I love Whiter Shade of Pale. I think a lot of people do. Brian Van Royal. Wonderful voice. As someone earlier said, very distinctive voice. The Truth Won't Fade Away is a fantastic song, especially the vocal. Well, there you go. He was responsible for that. Jen Liu, William Eckert. He did indeed. Showstopper. Seeing Gary Brooker at the same time as John Miles. Oh, in the 70s. And we lost John Miles a little while ago. I was just playing music yesterday. What a great... Dun, 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 dun. Jen Liu, I saw, okay. Gary with Jules Holland at Panham Park in Sussex. Early, I think you meant 90s. Ralph Maroon. This one hits me really hard. I think a lot of people feel the same way as you do, my friend. I think we're getting a lot of folks coming on here and just being shocked of just going, what? He died at home, by the way, just to circle back. He passed away at home, battled with cancer. A lot of people are playing. Well, for me, it was like I said, Salty Dog was my first experience with Procol Harum. Whiter Shade of Pale. At that point, I was 7 years old. Summer of Love. As someone else pointed out, Surrealistic Pillow by Airplane came out there. And we've got Sgt. Pepper. I mean, it's like this. And Whiter Shade of Pale, right? The Doors' debut album was 1967. Crazy. The Music Critic. Brooker appearance included piano on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. Yeah, we mentioned that a few times. Digger. Spent New Year's Eve 2006 with Gary along with Eric Clapton. Wow. Yeah, as we mentioned a while ago, he did play with Clapton. Rick May, live with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra, a good live album, as you'll find. Rest in peace, Gary Brooker. T. Knox, his band mates. Rock child of the 60s. Oh, damn. I hate hearing this news. I literally just found this. The Music Critic. Organ on the Hollies' Long Dark Road. Mickey Jupe's Jupanese album. Multiple albums with Kate Bush. CJ Costa Rica. There's a lost verse that Gary would sing Whiter Shade of Pale live. Oh, there you go. Eva wrote, rest in peace from Italy. Oscar, he rocked. Mark McCarroll, the album Home is a top 10 for me. Jen Lu, no, I meant Naughties. Oh, around the year 2000, I think. Showstopper Rob, 1967 was a turning point in music. Completely right. Well said. It's a moment in time. It's a year of music that will come up more than any other year when I do interviews. And I know a lot of you, we've got about 80 people on here now. I know a lot of you might not even know who I am, might not know my channel, but what we do on this channel is we almost exclusively always do interviews. Every day there's a new interview or two with a rock legend. And we also on our sister channel, if you like that clip, because they're usually 5 to 8 minute clips, we'll always give you a link to see the entire interview on our sister channel. That's where we put the long version. These are always shorts, except what we do right now, which is coming on live. So subscribe, thank you. Okay, good morning, John, from James Alfaro. A Day in the Life was inspired in the progression chord of Whiter Shade of Pale. Have a great day. Apollo Memory 73. The three verses version of Whiter Shade of Pale can be found on Live at Union Chapel DVD. Thank you. Paul Alves. Broken Barricades is an intense emotional experience for me. Never listened to an album similar to that mood. Thank you. Rockchild in the 60s. I actually thought we would get news like this about Meisner. Yeah, Randy Meisner. Randy's hanging in there. He had a long history of he drank a little too much for quite a few years. Johnny Aldrin, thank you, John, for all your efforts. Pookie, yeah, Rick Beato's great. Rick's the king of doing this sort of thing. He's the man. But anyway, folks, I think that's about it. Unless anyone else wants to chime in and say something about this, but it's way too young for someone, to pass away, right? You look at that and you go, wow, hold on a second, let me turn that off. 76 years old. It's pretty young. I got to go. Thanks, Music Critic. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. I got my little pen here to turn this off, but sad occasion for all us to get together, but may he rest in peace. Again, you got to have the talent to walk into the room and do something fantastic like that. And he certainly did a lot for a lot of people. Take good care of yourself, guys. Stay safe.